Most traders don't realize they're closer to the zone than they think. They wait for some dramatic breakthrough, a perfect streak, a flawless trade, a moment of magic. But the zone doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It shows up quietly in the way you think, the way you act, and the way you handle outcomes. The truth is, there are signs along the way, clues that your discipline is hardening, that your perspective is shifting, that the noise is losing its power over you. These signs don't look like victory. They look like calm. I didn't notice them at first. I was too focused on chasing results, too obsessed with proving myself. But over time, I realized the zone isn't a finish line you cross once. It's a state you slip into more often as your habits deepen. And when you start noticing these signs, you know you're getting closer. Today, let's break down 4 of them. The first sign that you're getting closer to the zone is when hesitation begins to fade. In the early days, I remember staring at my screen frozen. My setup was right there. The rules were clear, but my finger hovered over the mouse as if pressing it would decide my fate. By the time I finally acted, the opportunity was gone, and so was my confidence. Hesitation comes from conflict. Part of you trusts your system, but another part clings to fear. Fear of losing, fear of being wrong, fear of repeating old mistakes. That tug of war paralyzes you. And as long as you're stuck in that battle, the zone will always feel out of reach. But something shifts with time and repetition. You follow your plan often enough and the trust begins to grow. One day you see the same setup that used to freeze you, and instead of thinking, you act. Clean, sharp, without the inner argument. You barely even notice it until after the trade is done. That's the first taste of clarity. I'll never forget the first time it happened to me. The market presented a perfect pullback entry. Normally, I'd overanalyze it to death, watching the candle close, reopening the chart, convincing myself I needed one more confirmation. But that time I just executed. No noise in my head, no shaking hands. It felt almost too easy. That's when I realized discipline had finally started to outweigh doubt. When hesitation fades, you're not just getting faster, you're getting freer. It's the moment your process begins to lead and your fear begins to follow. And that shift is one of the clearest signs you're walking toward the zone. The second sign that you're getting closer to the zone is how you respond to losses. In the beginning, every red trade feels like an attack on your identity. I used to stare at a small loss and let it grow inside my head until it wasn't about money anymore. It was about me. Why can't I get this right? What's wrong with me? That mindset turned simple losses into spirals. I've been there, holding a loser way past my stop because I refused to accept I was wrong. I told myself it was temporary, that the market would come back if I just waited. But deep down, I knew I wasn't managing the trade anymore. I was managing my ego. And the market punishes ego without mercy. The shift happens when you start treating losses as business expenses. A red trade isn't a wound, it's a receipt. Just like a shop pays for electricity or rent, a trader pays with small losses to stay in the game. When you cut a loser quickly and cleanly, it doesn't feel like failure anymore. It feels like maintenance. I'll never forget the first time I accepted a stop out without frustration. I closed the position, logged the trade, and moved on without the usual storm in my head. It was strange. At first, almost too calm. But that's when I realized probability had replaced ego in my thinking. When small losses stop shaking you, it's proof you're getting closer to the zone. Because the zone isn't about avoiding pain. It's about refusing to give pain more meaning than it deserves. The third sign that you're approaching the zone is how you respond to wins. Early in my journey, nothing inflated me faster than a green trade. One solid profit and I was already planning the next big leap, telling myself I had finally cracked the code. That overconfidence made me reckless. I would double my size on the next setup, ignore my stop, and act as if the market somehow owed me consistency. It never ended well. I remember one week where I strung together 4 winning trades in a row. I felt untouchable, convinced the streak meant I was in the zone. On the 5th trade, I went all in. No risk control, no patience, just arrogance. That one loss erased everything I had made and more. The market didn't punish my system, it punished my ego. The shift happens when wins stop feeling like trophies. A profit becomes just another outcome, no more special than a small loss. You still acknowledge it, but you don't let it distort your next move. When you stop chasing the high of victory, you start protecting the consistency that actually matters. I'll never forget the first time I closed a strong winner and felt nothing extreme. No urge to celebrate, no hunger to double size, just a simple nod to the process that worked. That calm felt foreign, almost dull. But in that dullness was strength. The strength to stay steady instead of spiraling. When profits no longer inflate you, it's a clear sign you're walking toward the zone. Because the zone is not about feeling invincible after a win. It's about staying grounded enough to treat every outcome the same. The final sign that you're getting closer to the zone is when every trade begins to feel the same. In the early stages, each trade feels like a roller coaster. A winner lights you up like fireworks. A loser drags you into the mud. The highs are intoxicating, the lows are crushing, and the constant swing leaves you drained. I remember chasing that emotional rush. After a big win, I felt unstoppable, like I had hacked the market. After a big loss, I felt cursed, replaying the moment endlessly in my head. Trading wasn't just about charts, it was about my self-worth. Every candle felt personal, but then slowly the drama started to fade. A loss came and went without wrecking my mood. A win arrived and passed without inflating my ego. It wasn't boredom, it was rhythm. The market became less of a storm and more of a current I could move through calmly. The first time I noticed it, I closed both a red trade and a green trade on the same day. And for the first time, my emotions didn't swing between despair and euphoria. Both outcomes felt equal. Both were just data. That sameness wasn't dull. It was liberating. When every trade feels the same, you know you're close. Because in that steady rhythm lies freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from arrogance, and freedom to execute with clarity. And that freedom is the doorway to the zone. The zone doesn't arrive with fireworks. It doesn't announce itself with a perfect streak or a dramatic breakthrough. It arrives quietly, in hesitation fading, in losses that no longer sting, in wins that no longer inflate, and in the steady rhythm where every trade feels the same. Most traders will miss these signs because they're chasing something louder, a shortcut, a secret, a promise of certainty. But the zone isn't found in shortcuts. It's built, step by step, until neutrality becomes natural and discipline becomes instinct. If you noticed even one of these signs in yourself, take it seriously. It means you're closer than you think. Closer to clarity, closer to freedom, closer to the zone. And if you want to deepen that path, each principle you've heard here, probability, risk, discipline, detachment, is broken down further in our catalog. What you heard today are the signs. The steps themselves are waiting for you there.